Welcome to QC Crime Watch. I'm Linda Cook.
And I'm Sharon Wren.
And as always, we are bringing you stories about either crimes that are really interesting, high profile, or in this case, both that happened in the Quad Cities in the last few days. We cannot recommend an attorney. We must say that every single time because we're not attorneys and it would be a conflict of interest anyway. So we're sorry we cannot give you legal advice. And with that, we will plunge into shovel-related matters. Sharon, and it's not snow shoveling.
No, not snow shoveling.
Sharon has an interesting incident to talk about.
Yes, a man from Davenport has been arrested after police say he threatened both his roommates and police with a garden shovel.
He hoisted it in the air?
Oh, no. Well, let's see what the criminal complaint said. Davenport police were called to the 1100 block of East 14th Street on December 2nd at about 11 p.m. The defendant, who has been identified as Raymond Holbrook Jr., was outside the house with a metal garden shovel when officers arrived.
Okay.
And they asked him to put it down, of course, and he refused. He began hitting it on the ground and telling officers he was going to kill them. Yes. And then he started walking towards the officers while he was saying that, but then he dropped the shovel and walked away.
Okay.
And police tackled him.
Okay.
So, now, before they arrived, this Mr. Holbrook was allegedly in a physical altercation with his roommates. Shoved one and threatened both of them with the shovel, saying he was going to kill them and bury them in the backyard. Okay, first of all, good luck digging a hole in this weather when the ground's frozen. But
that is a threat.
That is a threat. Now, while the officers were taking Mr. Holbrook into custody, they noticed a heavy odor of alcohol on his breath, but he refused to give a breath sample. He was arrested and charged with felony assault on persons in certain occupations, use of a weapon, that was the officers, 2 felony counts of domestic abuse assault, second offense, and interference with official acts, deadly weapon. So yes, a shovel can be considered a deadly weapon. These are all felony charges. He is in the Scott County Jail on a $15,000 cash-only bond and has a preliminary hearing on December 5th.
We will be following that case, correct?
Yippers!
Okay.
Well, you just don't see people threatening others with gardening implements often.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Something tells me the alcohol got the better of him, perhaps, and perhaps a cooler head will prevail from now on. My story is very serious, not funny, and involves a fatality. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. A couple of nights ago, our news director, Eric, I was working out of my home office. It was very cold and snowy outside. And he called me and said something's going on in the area of Tremont and Locust Street, East Locust Street. And I said, what do you think it is? He didn't know, but he said that there were cars, emergency responder cars lining up or lying down, whatever you say, Locust Street, many of them. And because of the weather and the piles of snow, and it was snowing at the time, he heard people in the alley and realized that that's really where the officers were. But as he stood there, the crime scene tech car pulled up, and we figured it was some kind of an incident, possibly a violent incident. So the LeClaire Police Department, the Scott County Sheriff's Office, Bettendorf Police assisted Davenport Police in this particular investigation. So when it was all said and done, police announced that they had arrested and charged Adrian Moreno, a 54-year-old Davenport man, with first-degree murder and willful injury causing serious injury. Police say officers found a woman and man with stab wounds. The woman succumbed to the injuries she had suffered. The man was taken to a hospital. Later, actually yesterday, I was able to review the affidavits because Mr. Moreno had gone before a judge. And I will read from these exactly, because this is all I know is what's here. They say the 700 block of East Locust Street, 6:30 p.m. Monday. That's when police responded to suspicious activity. which could be
anything,
right? So they found a woman who had a severe laceration to her neck, and she, although medic EMS tried to help her, she was gone at the scene. And Moreno, according to the affidavits, was captured on in-home surveillance footage fleeing from the residence while holding a large knife. He was later found in LeClaire, and this is a direct quote. He made excited utterances to detectives that he was present at the residence before and had knowledge of a man and a woman being in there. So an officer spoke with the boyfriend of the deceased woman. This is what he told them, that Moreno, the couple, all three were in the residence, and the boyfriend saw Moreno approach the woman before he slashed her neck with a knife. He tried to ward him off and received severe injuries from the knife to his hands, lacerations that required surgical repair to severed tendons.
That's pretty deep.
That's deep, and that is very, very critical. Right. Detectives established probable cause over the investigation. We can conjecture, but we won't right now because I don't know whether this was we don't know what it is. We really don't know what the motivation was, right? But at any length, he is being held in Scott County Jail and is scheduled for a preliminary hearing December 9 in Scott County Court. And of course, we will be following this as it develops. It's sad when anything happens during this holiday season.
Right, and especially something that violent.
Yes.
That was very violent.
Yes.
Okay, well, we go from that to another unusual one. A man is in the Davenport man is in the Scott County Jail facing multiple charges after police say he drove at squad cars, backed into another car to evade police while he had a pound of marijuana in the car. That's in the criminal complaint, which says the defendant, identified as Desmond Williams, 33, drove into Iowa over the government bridge on December 2nd about 5:30 in the morning. The tint on the windshield of his car was too dark for viewing, and Williams allegedly stopped at the foot of the bridge, causing traffic to back up. And he apparently had run from law enforcement less than a week before. So officers had their lights and sirens on, and Williams allegedly tried driving at officers several times while his car was blocked in. Then he slammed into an occupied vehicle that was behind him that wasn't involved in any of this before driving at officers again. He didn't stop and eluded them at speeds well over the 25-mile-an-hour limit. Now, eventually, he crashed the vehicle, fled on foot. Officers saw him discard a backpack before they took him into custody. And inside the backpack, according to the affidavits, was a large amount of packing material, a digital scale, U.S. currency, and over a pound of marijuana, which, by the way, is not legal in Iowa still.
Right.
Yeah, there's no medicinal, there's no nothing. You can't buy it off the street. Nope.
I do think that it can be illegal in Illinois depending on how it's packed and sold, right?
Well, yes. I mean, it's still illegal to, go in the dark alley and buy something.
Do a drug deal, as it were, right?
So, like they did in the olden days.
Right.
So the only way you can buy it legally is through legal distributors.
Okay.
So, Mr. Williams was arrested and charged with a controlled substance violation, failure to affix a drug tax stamp, eluding, maintaining a dwelling for use of controlled substances, interference with official acts, and several traffic violations. He is being held in the Scott County Jail on a $10,000 cash-only bond and has a preliminary hearing on December 9th. A Davenport man is in the Scott County Jail. Boy, it's been a show for Davenport people, hasn't it?
It has.
He is being held on a secured $50,000 bond after police say he and others tried to steal copper from air conditioning units at the former Thunder Bay Grill restaurant. So Davenport police responded to the restaurant, which has been closed for several months, on November 25th, about 11:30 p.m. And they found the defendant, who's been identified as 38-year-old Chad Kaysen, hiding inside of one of the air conditioning units. Now, he and two others allegedly accessed the roof and entered an area that's restricted to public and they tried to steal copper from the air conditioning units, causing about $50,000 in damages. He had multiple backpacks with him, with knives, drills, saws, flashlights, gloves, and several batteries for the power tools.
Ooh.
That's thinking ahead, though, to have extra batteries.
And it also shows forethought,
oh,
premeditation.
Oh, dear. Well, he was arrested and charged with felony counts of third-degree burglary, conspiracy to commit non-forcible felony, 4 counts of first-degree criminal mischief, and a misdemeanor count of possession of burglary tools. Now, he is being held in the Scott County Jail on a secured $50,000 bond and has a preliminary hearing on December 5th.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, that's a crime that just won't go away. That's stealing that copper.
You know, and it's too bad that people become that desperate for drugs.
Yeah.
Because
it doesn't seem to be the way that people are making their rent payments.
No. It usually turns out that it was out of desperation.
Yeah.
So that's too bad. This happened Sunday night. So, you know, a lot of times, and I've been doing this for 45 years, when snow hits, things calm down a little bit. And that has not been so for the last 4 or 5 days. Unfortunately, there have been fatalities. There have been some incidents with cars, too,
right.
You know. And this is one that was not a fatality, but it was a little bit unusual. A 64-year-old driver crashed into a Rock Island building Sunday.
Building?
Building.
Okay.
And it was very late, actually. It was shortly after 11:30 p.m. Saturday.
Okay.
But the arrest and everything went through early Sunday. Yeah. Rock Island police responded to a truck that crashed into a building on the 300 block of 44th Street in Rock Island. And they found Russell Arlen trapped inside a 2019 Ford F-250, which is a great,
those are
big truck.
Yes.
So they got him out, extricated him from the truck, and transported him to Unity Point Health Trinity in Rock Island. Investigators found that Arlen had been traveling west on 4th Avenue when he failed to negotiate the turn on 44th Street, hit the building, and damaged its east side. Now, after being cleared from the hospital, because they made sure he was okay first, Arlen was arrested and charged with aggravated driving under the influence and obstruction of justice. I don't know where that charge came from, but there it was in the complaint, and was transported to the Rock Island County Jail. This is not the time to drive distracted
by
anything, whether it's your
the kids
dog
fighting,
bouncing around in the front seat. So I cannot, our colleague, in fact, I will not name names, but told me a hair-raising story about driving into a ditch a couple of days ago. So that person is fine. I am very glad. That person's car is fine. I'm even more glad. But this is not the time to think I can beat the weather or I can beat Siri's 5-minute destination estimate.
Add some extra time to your travel.
Add some time to your travel. We don't mean to sound like somebody's mother, but for crying out loud, slow down, because this is what is happening. People think they can do more than is possible when the roads are uncertain.
And I drive past that intersection every day on the way home from work, and it's, you're going down, and then it's a bit of a sharp turn. So he was coming the other way than I do, so he just wasn't able to make that sharp turn and just right into the building.
So, I mean, it could have been a disaster.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah, I mean,
several people.
Well, yeah, if this would have been when the business was open, or, somebody was outside doing work.
Scary.
I'm a little surprised that none of the debris landed on the train tracks, because there are train tracks right by it.
That's right. Yeah, well, maybe it did. I don't know.
But we didn't hear about the railroad having to stop traffic.
Right. So with that, we urge you all, whoever's listening, watching, to be careful, please, so that we're not doing a story about you. There are more stories coming up in the next day or two that we haven't investigated yet. So this looks as though there's no sign of stoppage for people doing things that are against the law. How's that?
Well, they're keeping us in business, so.
I guess, but I want everybody to stay well and alive.
So that's all the time we have this week for QC Crime Watch. Join us next time for more about the crimes that make the Quad Cities, hopefully, lock their doors at night.
And your cars.
And your cars.